to not only those who are married, but those who live in a family arrangement, even same-sex couples. And so continue to refine and redefine as we move forward is important. And we're doing that here with including the definition of domestic violence and victims of domestic violence. We're also going to phase out the use of fuel oil number 4, something that Jim has talked about often in his environmental pursuit of excellence. We want to thank you for both these bills and the role that they're going to play. As I indicated with domestic violence, every New Yorker deserves to be safe in their relationships and live a life free of domestic and gender-based violence. For many New Yorkers, home is no longer safe. They're in environments that's not conducive to their safety on many levels. Their lives are ripped apart due to the abuse and violence. Their options narrow because escapes can be terrible consequences on their ability to earn money and find a place to live and just simply to stay safe. Domestic and gender-based violence can happen anywhere in our city, and we can no longer act like it doesn't exist, and economics do not play a role in some form of abuse. We look at physical and mental abuse often, but we ignore the financial abuse. Today, we will protect New Yorkers who are experiencing economic domestic abuse. Intro 148-A expands the definition of victims of domestic violence to include economic abuse. I want to really thank Councilman Brennan for even understanding the fullness of being a victim of domestic violence. If you are trapped in your home because of your economics, you are being abused in many ways, and this bill seeks to address that. But we're also looking at an important bill as we deal with how do we clean up our environment. We are continuing to protect our environment through improving our air quality and bringing environmental justice to our communities. This bill is going to address the issues around fuel oil number 4. It's currently used to heat buildings across the city. And with this bill, we are taking steps to improve our air quality by moving to less polluting fuel sources. There's going to come a day when we're all going to look at this moment and ask what were we doing to our environment by using non-renewable fuel sources. And this is this continuation of this pursuit. Fuel number 4 contains oxides of nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, and carbon dioxide, and can contribute to respiratory and cardiac issues, hospitalization, and asthma emergency room visits. And you can clearly see a heat map that the communities who are impacted the most are communities of color, Black and brown communities, and low-income communities. Approximately 72% of the buildings that currently use fuel oil number 4 are in environmental justice communities that face environmental injustice. We want to continue to lean and identify these areas as we clean up our entire city, but really focus on those areas that are in greater need. Intro 470-A phases out the use of fuel oil grade number 4. This is a real commendable achievement as we continue to lead from the front in this city so that not only the country will follow, but the entire globe. Thanks to the real partnership of Speaker Adams, Councilman Justin Brennan, our finance chair, and Council Member James Gennaro for putting these bills together. I will, before signing the bills and having both councilmen speak, I'll open up for any public comments at this time. No public. That means no public comments, or you cutting off somebody's neck. Thank you. So I want to turn to Councilmember Brennan, sponsor of Intro 148-A, to say a few words. Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. So this was really the New York City human rights law really needs to be a brick wall to support survivors. And this was sort of the missing brick in that wall, was making sure that financial abuse was included in the definition of domestic violence. And the studies that we've read and that the advocates brought to us is that the number one reason why people stay in toxic and often violent relationships is because their tormentor is controlling their money. If someone's controlling your money, it's almost impossible to get out of that relationship. So giving survivors, empowering survivors with the tools that they need to identify economic abuse as domestic violence was simple, something that we needed to get done, and we appreciate the administration's support on this. And obviously, we appreciate all the advocates that worked a long time to get this done. And now that human rights law for the city of New York for survivors of domestic violence is the brick wall that it needs to be. Thank you.
Is something you need? Okay. You sure you don't need something? Okay. You know Rachel, our food person?
I'll take something.
She was giving me signals over there, you know. And now I invite Councilmember Gennaro, sponsor of Intro 470-A, to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, here it says right here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah. This is the culmination of a journey that I was part of that began in 2010. There used to be 3 grades of heating oil in the city, number 2, number 4, and number 6. Number 2 is the most common and cleanest grade of heating oil. Number 6 oil was the most polluting oil grade by far, and in 2010, the council and the administration at the time began a 5-year phase out of number 6. Number 6 is long gone, good riddance. Number 4 is a blend of 2 and 6, and in 2010, when number 6 was put on the phase out clock, the council by local law greatly reduced the sulfur content of number 4 by 2/3 from 4,500 ppm sulfur down to 1,500 ppm sulfur. That made number 4 much cleaner, but it still has a significant amount of sulfur, plus some heavy metals and other things that we shouldn't be putting into the air. With that in mind, in 2011, number 4 was set to be phased out by 2030. That's the background, that's the history. And the rationale for this bill today that we're not in a good place with regard to the ongoing phase out of number 4. Despite the fact that only 0.3 of all buildings in the city burn number 4 oil, 25% of New York City's public schools burn number 4, which is obscene, which this administration jumped on and said they were going to phase it out much earlier, and we're kind of following the mayor's lead as we always do. Where was I? 25%, yeah. Okay. To make matters even worse, as the mayor said, most of the public schools that burn number 4 are in environmental justice communities. And the other 1,500 private buildings that burn number 4 as a primary fuel, most of those are also in EJ communities. Intro 470A will remedy that. Number 4, oil will be out of every New York City public school by 2025. And regarding the phase out of number 4 oil from the 1,500 buildings that burn number 4 as a primary fuel and another 1,500 buildings that burn it as a secondary fuel, those buildings will phase out number 4 from 2024 through 2027. And the bill has a penalty structure for noncompliance that says we mean business. The administration put that in, by the way, I'm just saying. But there's also a hardship provision in the bill. So this bill is comprehensive, tough, yet fair. Now here's what we get. This is the good part. By phasing out number 4, according to the accelerated timetable in this bill, versus waiting until number 30, we will be preventing 4.8 million pounds of sulfur oxide emissions, like the mayor said, 3.5 million pounds of nitrogen oxide, 2 million pounds of the most dangerous kind of particulate matter, PM 2.5. That's 2.5 microns. Your body has no defense mechanism. It goes right through into your lungs. 65,000 pounds of heavy metals and 37,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions. That is a good day's work, and that would not be possible without Mayor Adams' extraordinary environmental leadership, Speaker Adams' leadership and support, members of the Council's Committee on Environmental Protection, Resiliency, and Waterfronts. That's our new name. And the 40 council members who co-sponsored the bill, including this guy right here, and the coalition of environmental and EJ groups that supported the bill, and of course, the dedicated staff who worked on this bill, and they are Samara Swanson, Ricky Charla, Andrew Lane Lawless, Andrew Bourne, he's the new guy over there. I see Brad Reed, and my terrific legislative director, Nabi Kaur. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Always great working with Rit, and this guy always has my back.
Thank you. And again, we want to thank Rit for just the leadership over at DEP and really taking on these environmental issues head on, because our goal is really to build a planet that's going to be ready for Jeff's new baby who's on the way for his child. So we are excited about that. I woke up this morning and I said, you know, it's your anniversary. We want to.
I like to entertain you.
You're 148. You're 148, right?
No.
Okay.
These are for the 148 people.
Yes, for the Commission on Human Rights.
How are you doing? Good. You got one too. Don't look at Jim. You're gonna get it.